If you're thinking of starting a social media marketing agency just because you see me or you see other people doing the same, you might be making a mistake. Let me tell you why. If this is really something that you want to do, be my guest and go for it. But if it's something that you're confused about, let me explain some important pointers here. Because what happens is people who are freelancers, they jump into becoming an agency owner too soon. And even though, for example, for me, it was a natural transition, people start their agencies way before they actually need to, because there are both pros and cons of both the sides. Firstly, let's talk about the difference between an agency owner and a freelancer. Basic level पे जो difference आता है, that's with the involvement. When it comes to freelancing, you are doing all the work yourself. You are doing the sales, you are doing the client management, you handle communications, you have all of that. When you're a freelancer, you essentially manage everything by yourself, and you do not have the factor of losing trust or trusting someone that you don't trust yet. You don't have that factor. So you are actually free in a lot of ways in which agency owners are not. And I think this is the biggest advantage of being a freelancer. Even if you are doing everything else, it's always good to be someone to rely on. Like if you are that person, you essentially do not need to worry about managing people or the training of those people and everything that comes with it. Now, when it comes to an agency, you essentially figure out, let's say 2, 3 or 4 things, maybe one, it depends on every person. You figure out which thing is that one thing that you want to do and you want to outsource everything else. काफी बार ये होता है कि agency owners do the service delivery and then they hire salespeople. Or, for example, in my case, even if I have the best track record in terms of delivering the service myself, I still focus on the sales aspect because that's one thing that I can't trust people with yet. So I'm the one who handles all of the sales in my company, and there are people who are essentially substituting me in all of the different aspects, whether it's managing clients or managing team members, managing editors, hiring, quality check, and basic client management, all of it, right? So these are the main basic differences of an agency owner as compared to a freelancer. Now comes the second part, where now we'll compare the good sides and the bad sides of both the agency life and the freelancer life. When it comes to an agency, firstly, the thing that you make for yourself is time. You have a lot of time that you would not have if you were a freelancer, and that gives you the opportunity to try out a lot of things. It helps you just get the freedom to either not do anything else, or if you want to, you can just grow your company in different ways in which you would have not done if you spent all of the time doing everything by yourself. The second one is the scalability. When you have an agency, even at the worst level, you can scale an agency by adding more team members and getting proportional clients. When it comes to scaling it in a lean manner, you increase the ticket size, you reduce the number of people you work with, and you reduce the number of team members, and that way you have a very lean functioning agency where you can just essentially trust people, and it becomes more of a cash flow source as compared to you worrying about the delivery and worrying about the cash coming in, which is dependent on you. So that's how freelancers operate, right? So that's kind of the main upsides of the agency, along with, let's say, doing new things, because when you have time, you can figure out new ways to do it. Maybe let's say you create a new offer, or you create a new client acquisition system, you scale it that way. So you have that freedom. But when it comes to the downsides, firstly, I'll tell you one thing. Managing people it's one of the highest ROI activities you can do. And it's also one of the toughest things that you have to do. Because, for example, when you're alone with yourself, you do not have to worry about the behavior of the other person. But when there are, let's say, 10 or 15, or for example, in my case, around 16, 17 people involved, you have to deal with a different kind of individual at every step of your journey. And उसमें क्या होता है कि it takes a toll mentally, where some days you are worrying about some team member taking off, and then you are worrying about their training. Are they delivering on their promises or not? Or are they meeting expectations? And for example, it's like you create mini versions of you where every version has a different personality, and you don't know how to handle that. You have to go through a lot of stress, and that's why the next thing that comes with it's trust. trusting people is hard when you are an ambitious person and you are a high achiever. So when I started my agency back in last year, for the first 3-4 months until I closed my first few clients, I was the one doing the sales, the service delivery, the client management, all of it. In terms of service delivery, I just had a couple editors that I was working with. So apart from that, it was just me doing all the work. Until some people gave me the reality check that I have to trust people, I have to find good people who will be working with me. Let's say even if they are at a 6 out of 10, I can get them to an 8 within a month. And I might have to spend more time than I expected inside the agency, because again, if we are hiring someone, we hire with the intention of making time. But when you hire someone who's, let's say, not at the highest level yet, and if you do not have the budget to pay that much, you have to put in time to get that person from, let's say, here to here. So trusting people becomes difficult. Second one is hiring, because you do not know where your team member will be tomorrow. कितने भी assurance मिलते रहें, contracts and stuff, हर किसी चीज़ को साइड में रख के, you will always have that thin margin where you do not know if tomorrow one of your trusted team members will leave you, right? So it creates another sort of mental stress. And then with it comes a lot of SOPs, because again, if you are you, again, which is the fact here, but if that's you, then तुम्हें कोई चिंता नहीं है, because you can manage everything that you have. तुम खुद के schedule पे जी सकते हो, you can do all of that. But when you have a team, let's say if they are all remote, for example, in my case, they are all remote, I cannot be on top of their head telling them कि भाई तू अभी काम कर, and then you show up at this time. Like all of them have their separate personal lives, and I have to respect that. And इसके साथ में क्या होता है कि most of the times when there are fuck ups with the client service delivery, I am the one who has to step in. And when I step in, things improve. But again, what's the point of me hiring them before when I'm the one who has to solve everything, right? जब तुम trust करना सीखते हो, again, it's very difficult. I still find it very jarring that I have to trust people where I can do the work myself. But then उसके बाद में अगला thought ये आता है कि okay, I can just get more clients myself, and that way I'll be able to live a life that I wanted, essentially. Right? But again, trust नहीं कर पा रहा मैं लोगों को. तो it's an endless loop. And this is one of the biggest downsides of an agency. इसके साथ में the clearest one is again profit margin. When you're a freelancer, you probably operate at anywhere from 95 to 100% profit margin, apart from the software or the equipment that you get. But यहाँ पे you sacrifice around 40, 50, even more % of the revenue you make. So the profit is less. But again, if you do not have to spend that amount of time, the profit you are making, it's 100 times more worth it. Let me give you an example. Let's say अगर तुम दिन का 8 घंटे काम कर रहे हो, if you're working 8 hours a day and you're making 5 lakh rupees a month, right? Compare that with, let's say, if you are earning 4 lakh rupees a month, but you're only working 2 hours a day. You will obviously take the 2 hours because now you have an extra 3 hours daily to perform new tasks. Maybe तुम अपनी income बढ़ा सकते हो, right? So that's like the one of the downsides / upsides of an agency. It's subjective, right? For me, it's like, okay, I'm more than happy to sacrifice profit margins if I can make time, because again, I have a lot of interests. I like training, I like reading, I like spending time with my friends, all of that. I want to do other things, but uske liye I need time away and I need to trust people. Now, when it comes to being a freelancer, downside of it is, firstly, there is no one coming to save you. Either you have mentors yourself, or you know some people who can help you whenever you need them. But when you're a freelancer, you are just alone. तुम्हारे साथ में कोई भी नहीं है. Let's say अगर तुम घर पे freelance कर रहे हो and then your parents do not know कि तुम्हारे को क्या दिक्कत आ रही है, you can't ask your parents for help. तो लोगों की कमी is one of the biggest downsides of being a freelancer. इसके साथ में एक और क्या है कि you do not have time freedom. All of the output that you get, it's because of you. Right? अगर तुम यहाँ पे अगर एक भी बंदे को ले आए for service delivery, now it's a small agency. It's a white label agency or it's a small team. But if it's not freelancing, like I'll give you an example. I have a friend back in Canada. He runs a email copywriting business as a freelancer. He started in 2021. From there until end of 2022, he got to $25,000 or $30,000 a month in revenue, all by doing it himself. He used to close deals, he used to do the service delivery, वो सब कुछ खुद करता था. And that way he earned a really good life, right? I am chasing that mark as an agency owner now, because again, he stuck with one thing. When you are a freelancer, again, because it's you and you know yourself best, and you should, अगर तुम नहीं जानते हो तो ये तुम्हारी साइड में दिक्कत है. But when you're a freelancer, यहाँ पे तुम्हारे पास में सारा कंट्रोल है. You can really scale it. Let's say if you're working with 5 clients paying you $2,000 a month, and you develop a process over time where you're working with 2 clients paying you $5,000 a month, you have the same amount of revenue coming in, you have the same amount of cash flow coming in. It's just that you now spend lesser time, or now you spend more quality time with a few people. So this is how it happens when it comes to being a freelancer. Again, when you don't have people, तुम्हें सब कुछ खुद से मैनेज करना पड़ता है. एजेंसी में फॉर एग्जाम्पल tomorrow I can hire an assistant, she can handle the finances, payouts, investments, all of it, and I don't have to worry about that. But जब तुम freelancer हो, तुमको सब कुछ खुद करना पड़ेगा. The degree of freedom that comes with freelancing, it's the actions that you can take within your business, and it's way higher than the agency. क्योंकि agency में let's say if there are 10 people in a chain of tasks, you do not have the freedom to change everything at every moment. जब तुम freelancer हो, अगर तुम्हें आज कोई दिक्कत दिख रही है तुम्हारे सर्विस में and you think कि okay कहीं पे improve हो सकता है, you can do it today and तुमको कोई रोकने वाला नहीं है. So that's a freedom that you guys have when you are a freelancer. तो यहाँ पे you need to have a weighted comparison, right? तो क्या होता है कि let's say there are 5 factors which will decide your decision, and let's say if you're a freelancer right now or you're an agency owner and you want to move into the other aspect, तुम्हें क्या करना होगा कि तुम्हें तुम्हारे हिसाब से जो पॉजिटिव्स एंड नेगेटिव्स हैं उनको प्रायोरिटी में लिखना होगा. नॉट एवरी पॉइंट विल हैव द सेम इम्पैक्ट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल मेरे लिए लेट्स से इफ आई पुट लाइक सैक्रिफाइसिंग 20% प्रॉफिट मार्जिन एज कंपेयर टू सैक्रिफाइसिंग 5 hours a day, आई विल वैल्यू द 5 hours a day मोर. ठीक है, तो तुम 5 या 6 पॉइंट तुम्हारे पास में जितने भी हो तुम उनको वेट दो. ठीक है, तो आई थिंक अगर तुम लोगों में जितने लोगों ने इंजीनियरिंग करी या स्टैटिस्टिक्स वगैरह पढ़े होंगे, देयर आर वेटेड एवरेजेस. सो यू गिव अ वेट और अ प्रायोरिटी टू एवरी सिंगल की फैक्टर एंड देन तुम उनको ऐड करो एंड देन सी कि किसका एडिशन ज़्यादा आ रहा है, एंड दैट वे यू कैन डिसाइड विच वन डज बेटर फॉर योर सेल्फ. होता क्या है कि लेट्स से इफ यू नीड सम रेफरेंसेज अराउंड कौन से पॉइंट यहाँ पे होने चाहिए, यू कैन सेपरेट इट as a matter of profit, as a matter of cash flow coming in, sales maybe, or you can segregate it on as a matter of skills. तो skills की अगर बात करें तो there might be team management, delegation, communication, training. This is when it comes to the agency. But when it comes to freelancing, it might be self-improvement, it might be finding new hobbies, or it might be developing a new skill. राइट, एंड तुम इन चीज़ों को वेटेज दे के तुम एक प्रॉपर डिसीजन ले सकते हो. तो इससे क्या होता है कि यू मेक अ रैशनल चॉइस, यू डू नॉट रश इनटू इट. अभी ओके, create an agency if you want, please go ahead, freelancer हो तुम करो. But the thing that ruins a lot of talent and a lot of potential in people is taking decisions based on their inspirations. अगर आज for example let's say in some way तुम लोग अगर मेरे से इंस्पायर होते हो and you think कि okay Saksham runs an agency, I should run an agency as well, this is something that I would not recommend. ठीक है, because again it's a personal decision. मैं लोगों को हैंडल कर सकता हूँ, I know how to manage teams, I know how to manage people. Maybe last 6-7 महीने में I have gotten angry maybe 2 times at my team. एंड मेरा टीम मेंबर एक भी छोड़ के नहीं गया मेरे को आज तक, अपार्ट फ्रॉम द वंस दैट आई हैड टू फायर. उस केस में दैट्स माई एडवांटेज, है ना. तो वहाँ पे क्या होता है कि नाउ आई नो कि मेरा स्किल क्या है. तो आई डिड नॉट टेक दिस डिसीजन बेस्ड ऑन फॉर एग्जाम्पल ईमान गाजी, या फिर अगर मैं हमजा को देखता तो आई वुड हैव स्टार्टेड अ यूट्यूब चैनल, फिर मैं अली अब्दाल को देखता आई वुड हैव स्टार्टेड अ यूट्यूब चैनल आफ्टर कॉलेज. पर आई पिक्ड एजेंसी बिकॉज अगेन इससे मेरे को बहुत सारी वो चीज़ें सीखने को मिली जो मेरे में लैक कर रही थी, which were communication, talking to people and influencing them, delivering world-class experiences, making time, finding the good side of online business, getting cash flow when you're not putting time into it, removing time from the amount of money that you can make. These were some of the things that I was inspired by. That's why I picked agency as one of the things that I want to do, right? Again, मेरे पास में brand है. I can just stop the agency today and I can make, I would not make as much money that I make with the agency right now immediately, but if I spend, let's say if I dedicate the entire next year on my brand, I will make more than I'm making with the agency right now. पर agency वाला मेरा point वहाँ पे है ही नहीं. Again, मेरे साथ में कोई ऐसा सीन नहीं है कि it's not my dream to run an agency. My dream is that I should have enough cash flow through which I can explore new interests and then I can probably find something that I like doing. Agency is not something that I love doing. मेरे को सुबह उठ के कोई मज़ा नहीं आता कि fuck यार आज मेरे को agency चलानी है. It's not that. It's just that कि मेरे को जो positives agency के दिखते हैं that helps me out a lot. And वो मेरा अभी का timeline है. Let's say 2 years from now maybe I will not have this agency or maybe I'll have a 100 times bigger agency. Who knows? 2 साल पहले I started as a freelancer and मैं फ्रीलांस करके खुश था बिकॉज आई वॉज मेकिंग मनी एंड मेरे को लोगों से डील करने का चिंता नहीं था. एंड बैक देन आई डिड नॉट हैव द स्किल टू मैनेज टीम्स और सेल इफेक्टिवली मेरे पास में नहीं था. दैट्स माई डिसीजन. if you are looking at the best freelancers, I'll give you one big hack. Okay, तुम किसी भी फील्ड में हो ना, the one thing is constant कि अगर तुम truly किसी फील्ड में इंटरेस्टेड हो, you will know who the best players are in that particular industry. So let's say if you pick some of the best freelancers in the world, they build small teams when needed. तो वो freelancers नहीं रहते हैं. They one person business is a myth. Maybe some deluded people do it for a short amount of time. After a point, everyone needs people. तुम freelancer हो, तुम अपनी पूरी जिंदगी freelance करते हुए नहीं निकालोगे, because after a point you will need some source of income, or you will need to remove time out of the equation, है ना. तो based on my experience, I've seen that the best freelancers build small teams when needed. Let's say अगर तुम freelance कर रहे हो and तुम्हें दिख रहा है कि okay, maybe मैं sales में इतना effective नहीं हूँ, but I do have clients who pay me good enough, so I can hire a person who can do the sales for me and I can pay him good money, pay him or her good money, and उससे even though my profit margins will decrease, but now I have more time to serve my clients. या फिर तुम्हें लग रहा है कि okay, I sell effectively, maybe मैं किसी को hire कर लूँ, again now it's basically a small agency, तो do that. Or let's say if you need someone to teach you on a software, that's when you build teams. Agencies में क्या होता है कि starting में agency over hire करती है, right? You hire more people than needed, and then after that what happens is you remove the people who do not have any impact, and it's a ruthless place again. बोलना आसान है, and I can do it, but right now I don't have the necessity to remove team members from my team. So that's kind of some of the differences when it comes to the initial stages of being a good freelancer or being a good agency. Now let's say if you're a good freelancer, if you are seeing incredible results, maybe you hire someone for sales, or you hire an assistant who manages your time better, or you hire some sort of a manager who handles the finances with you. After a point you need to have some teams. It does not mean कि तुमको agency बनाना ज़रूरी है ना. And let's say अगर तुमको सही में बहुत ज़्यादा need है, for example if I take the example of my friend from Canada, he trained his girlfriend on the same skill and now he runs the business with her and सब कुछ बढ़िया चल रहा है उन दोनों का. तो you can go into communities as a freelancer, because अगर तुम अच्छे वाले हो तो तुम communities में भी होगे. You can go into the communities and you can find good people who might be a fit as your team member, उनको train करो and then spend some time with it. तुमको कोई जल्दी तो है नहीं. And then once you think कि okay, this team member is good enough, from there you can scale. या फिर let's say अगर तुम्हें improve करना है तो तुम अपना ticket size बढ़ा दो. इस तरीके से तुम kind of अपने weighted decisions ले सकते हो, because agency or agency is not something you're born to do, right? Maybe तुम में leadership वाले characteristics हैं और you have developed those leadership characteristics, but agency थोड़ा अपने आप seamless transition आता है. तो वो चीज़ पे थोड़ा सा you need to be a bit more self-aware. Because I've built an agency, I do have free time here and there, and अभी के लिए it goes into so many projects, it becomes difficult to focus on one thing. So this is again kind of a downside, but I am not complaining because of the money. Now when it comes to the parts that I like managing people and I like sales, right? Even though I can do all of this, whatever I'm doing as an agency owner, I can do that more effectively as a freelancer. And I don't need to work with as many clients as I am right now. I can just work with, let's say, 4 or 5 clients and I'll be making an insane amount of money, multi 6 figures USD a year. पर मेरे पास में उतना bandwidth नहीं है, and I don't want to do it. That's why I do not do it. Based on everything that I've told you until now it's kind of your choice to see should you remain a freelancer, should you remain an agency owner, or should you change. Make sure that you weigh all the points that are in your favor and that are not in your favor, and you make a calculated choice. You will thank me for it. Right now this might seem okay, this is not that big of a deal, but I'm telling you it is, because I have about 4 years of experience in this online industry now. Not as an agency owner, but I have seen the world as a freelance video editor, a freelance DM closer, a freelance video call closer, a freelance LinkedIn lead gen guy, a freelance content creator, to content creation for myself, and then doing the agency work myself, and then now building a team. So I have seen the whole journey and I still have a long way to go, but this is all of the lessons that I learned until now. एक बस चीज़ याद रखना कि when you start as a freelancer, you do not have worries about people, and I'm stressing this a lot now again क्योंकि मेरे notes में बार बार लिखा हुआ है and I have to mention this. You do not have any worries regarding people or paying them or managing them or not getting any good work done. Teaching and training, hiring, firing, all of that, you do not have those worries. So if you are doing good as a freelancer, be a freelancer for some more time and see the lengths that you can go to when it comes to, let's say, either closing deals or getting results for your clients. And once you're like, okay, now I'm at one of the more reputable points in my industry, which is like, again, I'm not going to say that it's easy to do. It's simple to do, right? To get to a great point in the industry that you're in, it just takes a bit of time. So if you get to that point, then only decide to go in an agency, or you feel you have too much work coming in and you need to delegate then. So this is kind of like, a raw video that I planned today only about being a freelancer or being an agency owner. Now I've given all of my thoughts. I do not have anything else. And yeah, it's your choice. Ciao.